Hey friends, it is Mel Adair here with the Friendship Revolution, and I'm joined by my friend Jennifer Bowden with zesthealthyeating.com. And Jennifer is a nutritionist that really brings to the forefront the conversation about holistic health, not just as it pertains to eating and food, but really the spiritual angle and the physical. Obviously that can tie in, but there is so much more to a healthy existence and lifestyle than just the food that you put into your mouth. And so in this segment, we're actually talking about hospitality and how this plays into making healthy choices for yourself and not limiting yourself to who you hang out with based on the choices that you make for your health and within that. And I know that is a really small way of phrasing this, Jennifer. So help me tease out just a little bit here the importance of hospitality and how this impacts your health and maybe what choices you would make if you're trying to be intentionally healthy. How does this all work together? I know that for myself, if I'm entertaining, I'm not necessarily putting the healthiest things on the table, but maybe that's my mindset that needs a shift there. So walk me through this a little bit.
Yeah, hi Mel, I'm happy to do that. So I think you just hit the nail on the head in terms of hospitality. It's a really important part of food and eating. And I think sadly, probably in the last few decades, we've become really focused on healthy eating and eating healthy foods and stuff. And we've kind of taken food out of the context of how we eat it, which is when we eat food, we're often sitting down with other people and we're sharing meals. So we need to put the nutrients back into the food back into the meal back into the context, which is often a shared meal with other people, whether that's eating breakfast with your family in the morning, eating lunch with your workmates, in the cafeteria or wherever, or having friends and family over in the evening for dinner or something in the weekend, you're celebrating in the weekend. So hospitality and eating and sharing meals together is a hugely important thing. And I think it's important because it's about what we talked about before, this overall well-being. Part of our overall well-being is connecting and having that social well-being. And eating and sharing a meal together, there's something amazing that happens when you share a meal with people. Like you can sit and talk or stand and talk with someone for 10 or 15 minutes, but shift that, go and sit down somewhere, grab a hot drink, a muffin or whatever, and sit and talk and eat. I don't know what happens. It's like something amazing happens in terms of how you connect. When you share a meal together with someone, it sort of makes you, I don't want to say vulnerable, but it does. You sort of open yourself up more than what you would when you're just standing around talking, because perhaps, I suppose, in a way, it is a vulnerable thing to do, isn't it? In a sense that, you wouldn't do that with someone that you think is going to attack you. If you're thinking about thousands of years ago, when we might have all lived in villages somewhere and there were marauding, Vikings coming to attack or something, you're sitting down and you're sharing and you are physically connecting with someone. And I just think that that's really important. I think, so when we're talking about what should you be eating, I feel like the food that you're eating becomes quite secondary to the act of actually sharing the meal. So you're saying, you don't think too much about the nutrients and stuff in it. And I'd say, yay, great, don't. Because the important thing here is that you're connecting and you're sharing a meal. And that's a powerful thing. Maybe nowadays there's much more awareness of people with food allergies and intolerances and things. And it's great if we can cater for those kinds of people. So if we know that we're going to share a meal with someone who's a celiac, then understanding how we can cater for that person to make sure that everything's gluten-free is an amazing thing to do and a caring thing to do. You're showing them that they matter because you've thought ahead for them. And in those situations, I think when you're talking about people with true, food allergies or celiac or those types of things, if you're not quite sure what to do, the number one expert is obviously the person. So, and it can be a really great and caring thing to reach out and say to them, hey, I really want to make sure everything's okay for you eating, what should I know? Or this is what I'm planning on serving. Is that going to be okay? Checking in with them and making sure you're catering. I think it's a huge important part in terms of hospitality. I guess nowadays we might have guests or people we share a meal with who are really firm on eating, and it's not for allergies or intolerances. It might be because they're following a particular diet or whatever, and they don't want to move outside of their boundaries for that. My approach with my clients is always to try and encourage them not to have that kind of approach, to actually be flexible in the way you eat, because one meal, we'll put it this way, your health is not about one meal or one snack and what you eat. It's about what you eat at every meal over days and weeks and months and years. That is what creates your health. So eating something slightly different for one meal is, to me, it's like the value of the hospitality far exceeds that social, that social well-being that you're helping far exceeds what, you moved out of your plan and had, 10% more carbs than you planned to for that meal. I just think that's my perspective on it, but I appreciate there's some people out there who have very clear rules they want to stick to. I guess when we're hosting and stuff, if we can cater for them, if they can't be flexible, it's nice to be able to cater for them. Often, sometimes having varieties of a wide variety of foods, so they can pick and choose, within that. So you're hosting them. But yeah, I think ultimately for me, the important thing with hospitality is the coming together of people, and the food is almost like just part of the scenery for it, rather than being something you need to focus on too intently.
Yes, you hit quite a few subjects really well, and the heart of several of those subjects. As somebody who is gluten and dairy intolerant, I know that can be intimidating for people to have me over to eat, and they're like, well, what do you even eat? And there are so many things that are not dairy and not wheat-based products, and I don't have allergies. So oftentimes I find myself explaining the difference between an allergy and an intolerance, and which is new, because there are so many more intolerances than I think that there ever were. And I have ideas about why that is, but this certainly isn't the setting for that. But it is always such a loving gesture when somebody does call, and if I can guide them through that, and I'm like, I eat meat and I eat beans and rice, and Mexican food is a huge go-to for me because I can eat tortillas and tortilla chips and salsa. But there are certainly a lot of other foods that are now becoming more available that do cater to people with special dietary restrictions, or maybe they are on maybe somebody is actually on a diet. So something that I have found really helpful, if I feel like it's a stressful thing for a host, is I will actually offer to bring my own side dishes. I'm like, hey, here's, okay, you're making a roast, and then you're making these other things, mashed potatoes, which will probably have, I don't want to overwhelm a host. So if they kind of give me a menu, then I'll say, great, make all of those things. I'll bring my own sides. And then they feel so much less stressed, and we can actually enjoy the time, and they aren't worried about if they have butter in something when it shouldn't be there, because they didn't even connect that would be a dairy product. It's more of a flavor thing, whatever it is. But like you're saying, to not get caught up in so many of the small entanglements of what that means, and to really bring the healthy aspect forward, that this one meal is not going to be a big deal if you are on a diet. And I want to be super sensitive to those people that do diet, that this is a huge mind shift. That's a mindset shift, to take it from this is a strict diet to I have other options, and being healthy emotionally and having the joy of eating in this. Those are huge things. And you and I actually talked about in our first segment about emotional eating, and that emotional eating is often tagged as a bad thing because guilt or shame is associated, or you're stressed. And so we often hear about emotional eating in a negative context, but it's also a very, you framed this that we all eat out of emotion. And so when you are having a meal with somebody, that can bring so much joy. And so what a healthy response emotionally to have that relationship with food. But I definitely agree, hospitality, it unites hearts in a unique and almost magical way. And you're right, that was such a great point about being vulnerable. When you're sitting down, there's always the possibility that you can have food that goes down your face a little bit, or you spill something, or you try something for the first time and maybe it's not your favorite. How do you mask that or negotiate around that so you don't hurt the other person's feelings? That is being very vulnerable and putting yourself in a vulnerable position. And I've never quite thought of it like that. So thank you for bringing up those points.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so don't order spaghetti bolognese on your first date or something. Spaghetti spraying everywhere.
Yes, so this has been such a great conversation, and this is just one of several that we have here in this series. Again, my guest is Jennifer Bowden with zesthealthyeating.com. Please catch our other videos in this series as we're hitting on some great subjects, not framing out a diet, but a great healthy way to look at food and our relationship with food and how that impacts every area of our life. Friends, please ring the bell so that you are notified whenever we release a new video. Subscribe to this channel and put some comments and questions below. Jennifer will be reading those, and so she can directly reply to any concerns that you have, or if you need different resources. She's an amazing resource. So subscribe, comment below, and share this video with your friends. We'll see you next time.